What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back. Today, I'm here to talk about two books by the one and only James Baldwin. Let's get started. Okay, so I recently read two books by James Baldwin. I'm going to review them in the order that I read them. So the first one was The Fire Next Time. I'm hoping yeah. This is basically it's a book that's written in the form of two letters. So this is a nonfiction book. The first letter is to James Baldwin's nephew, whose name is also James, and he's kind of he wrote a letter to him just explaining to him like the state of America for a black man, the realities that he probably will face more than likely, the situation that a lot of black men find themselves in, the weight that can be put on their shoulders, just navigating through life. And like the letter was reflective, but it was heartfelt. It was sad to think about like a grown man telling this to like the youth, because you want better for them. But he was like just saying, really, no matter what I might want your life to be like, these are things that 9 times out of 10, some of them 10 times out of 10, you will face. And that's just the reality of it. So like, it was sad at some points, but it was sobering too, because it's just like, dang, like, yeah, like it doesn't feel good to tell somebody this, like, this is what you might encounter. This is what people think about you. This is kind of like the reality of the state of the world, the state of, the United States, the state of whatever. It doesn't feel good to say that, because you think when you talk to the youth, you want to kind of inspire them and motivate them. And yes, embed some wisdom in it, but those are like some hard things to deal with. And, the whole time I'm reading it, while it was powerful to read, I'm also thinking about how his nephew read this, like would have read it. And over the years, you go back and revisit stuff. So like the first time he read it versus when he's 30 versus 35 versus 45 versus 60, you go back and you read this, and I'm thinking about how it would have been received from his nephew. And I think that's what got me. It was good on its own, but I was thinking about that too as I was reading it. And then the second letter, so let me tell you the names of them. The first letter, I guess I should have said that. The first letter is called Letter to My Nephew on the 100th Anniversary of the Emancipation. Okay, and then the second one is Down at the Cross, Letter from a Region in My Mind. That letter, which takes up the majority of this book, so let me show you. This much of the book is a second letter. This much of the book is a letter to his nephew. So that part of the book is basically just talking about America in general, just from, like he said, a region in his mind, but it's like an address to America at large. Like, yeah, you want to like throw the word emancipation around and, freedom, but what is freedom and what is it not? And things have changed, but probably not as much as you think they have. And yeah, things have changed, but for who? And what does that look like? And it's just, again, it's like an address to America at large, or that's the way that I was reading it. Very powerful, very powerful. But it also is not just like, it wasn't just like I'm addressing, it wasn't like he was talking to America. Like, it's not like Bernie Mac where they like, hey, America. It's weaved through his lens, so through James Baldwin lens. So he's looking at the world through how he's changing over time. His perspectives on his identity, his perspectives on his parents and organized religion, which this part of it was very critical of organized religion. what else? It was like how his perception of certain people and certain types of people have changed over time. And then within that, like, it was such a layered approach because within that, that's where those themes of like change and freedom really kind of shone through, and identity and what that means, and how much change is change, like what's really changed when you really think about it, and why, who's pulling the strings and for what reason. That's what that second letter made me think about. Like, you kind of get to see his upbringing and some of the stuff that his dad believed and he believed, and it's almost like a turning point in his life. I felt like I was reading like a turning point where he was really trying to figure out, who am I, what's my place, what do I believe, and stuff like that. So it was good. It was good. Yeah. A lot of racial injustices called out in this book. And it's thin. It's only 106 pages. But it was so good. Yeah. Definitely highlights like the legacy of racism too. So that's the first book. The Fire Next Time. New York Times says is searing, brilliant, and masterful. I agree. Okay, and then the next book that I read, a little bit thicker. This one's coming in at not by much, 169 pages. That is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. This book right here. So, who when people say, not all people, but it's kind of like in the way that people will name Beloved, Toni Morrison's, like their favorite book by Toni Morrison, like that percentage of people that would say Beloved is their favorite book. That's how I've heard people talk about Giovanni's Room. Like, it's their favorite James Baldwin book. Not, I'm not saying those people, I hope I said that right. Not the people that like Beloved like this. I mean, like how I constantly hear people say that Beloved is their favorite Toni Morrison book. I constantly hear people say that Giovanni's Room is their favorite James Baldwin book. So I was excited to read this. First of all, let me read you this first line, because the first line that I read, I knew I was in for it. It says, I stand at the window of this great house in the south of France as night falls, the night which is leading me to the most terrible morning of my life. I knew I was going to like it. And plus, from reading The Fire Next Time, I kind of knew I would like his writing style, even though, like I said, this is nonfiction, but this is fiction. But I still kind of felt like I would like it, just based on, what I did know about it going in. Basically, the main character, his name is David. He is grappling with a lot. Like, you kind of get it starts off like set in the present, and it takes place in the 1950s. And he's having like flashbacks to events that are leading up to this thing. He's like thinking back through it, and you kind of get to know the truth a little more as the story goes on. But David is dealing with a lot. He moves, he grows up, has some experiences in his youth, always kind of felt like he was suppressing a lot of things. He didn't quite fit in, trying to please his dad, dealing with, let me see if this is a spoiler. I'm glad I looked, because it might be dealing with a lot of things in his childhood. And then he decides, okay, yeah, he decides he's moving to Paris. He is moving to France, and he does. And then when he gets over there, he's grappling with a lot of things. Like, he has the freedom of another country and of what's like customary in Paris that he didn't have back in America, but he still like put himself like in this box. He still confined himself. And it's this tug of war. This whole book is like a tug of war, like of really like figuring out who you are, even if he goes back around town and you back to the same person you always tried not to be. Who are you really? And are you being honest with yourself? Are you being honest with yourself? Are you being honest with those people that love you? Are you like including other people in that? And yeah, it's, and then like who you are in relation to other people. Like I found myself really looking at this book thinking about like I know what I think about my dad, but like he's on the other end and he has his own thoughts about me. Like I know what I think about my husband, for example, but he on the other end, he got his own thoughts about me. And I have my own thoughts about me that even if you get a glimpse of it from the outside, like you don't really know what's going on. Like you don't know the stuff that like that people are really dealing with and really grappling with and what they might be suppressing and what what they have the courage to do versus don't and what their like personal convictions are and their own morality and where do they find that morality, where's their moral compass come from and why, and so many things like that. That's what this made me think of, because again, I don't want to, can I say this? See, I feel like that might be a spoiler. Yeah, I ain't gonna say that, but it's a lot that goes on in here. But I can say I enjoy this. Like I said, it's a fiction book. It, if I had to say, sorry, if I had to say which one I like more, I like them for different reasons, and they're so different. Like they both talk about identity. They both talk about even race, but more so like cultural differences, and they both talk about like finding yourself and being true to what you believe and doing like a self-examination, but in two totally different ways. So it's hard for me to say which one of these is my favorite. I don't know. It's, I like them for different reasons, but if I absolutely had to reread one of these, if I had to reread one of these, I'm going with Giovanni's Room out of these two. But yeah, both really good. I like how James Baldwin writes. Like I like how he story tells. I like that, like the way that he puts the story together is very purposeful. You can tell that in the pages, and it always feels so good. I felt this way a few times when I read like certain books that people are always like, you gotta read, you gotta read. Sometimes they just write. Sometimes it's just like you can immediately see like the genius. You can immediately see like this artist is at work. You immediately just say, you know what, I can give my applause now because this one page is already a masterpiece. It's already beautifully woven together, and it just got started. It's only gonna get better. That's exactly what happened. It only got better. So yeah, that's it, y'all. Giovanni's Room was really good. Very good. I also liked at the towards the end of this book, and it's kind of woven through, but like the attitude towards women, and that in the book that the a woman character got to actually like express some of that. And during the 1950s, I feel like it was pretty spot on for what, she said. She had a little monologue or like soliloquy at the end. I thought it was good because, yeah, it was good. This makes you think just a lot about like personal guilt too, how you carry shame and how you carry like just like accountability for your actions and the role you play in things. Some of that stuff that you carry, it is your fault. Some of it, some of the stuff that you do is your fault. That's what I'm thinking. This and like reading it and thinking to myself, like some of the things that I carry with me, I don't need to carry because it's not doing any good. But like, yeah, I did contribute to that. And some things you really didn't contribute to, and you just like you're obsessing over it, and it's emotions tied to it, it's feelings tied to it, but like some of the stuff is not your bag to hold. It's just not. And so yeah, this is y'all. These two right here. Let me see. If you read these, what y'all think? Let me know. I feel like I picked the right time to read these. Like, yeah. Let me know what y'all think. And I'm gonna see y'all on the next one.